Your environment is the reason why you're so unhappy. And until you remove yourself from that, you're not even gonna realize it. So my words are gonna hold no weight to you until you figure this out yourself.
How the fuck is this what you do? Like, how do you even stay sane?
I was doing a bunch of drugs and shit, and I literally was so anxious before I got an anxiety attack and I just stayed home. That's when I decided I was gonna drop out.
I'm not trying to sound too dark. Whether that individual committed suicide or not, it wouldn't have been your fault.
The only way you get out of this is getting out of this neighborhood, get away and go isolate yourself and like figure your shit out.
That's what this podcast is all about. Welcome back, everybody, to the #1 podcast in the world. I'm here, your host, as you know, Cal Mahdi, and I have a very special guest here for you guys today who's going to give you a shit ton of knowledge in terms of how you could be successful in sales. He is the youngest, most successful salesperson in the online business space who's generated over $8 million in sales throughout his career, and not to mention giving a job and a livelihood to over 250 other salesmen as well. So without further ado, I got our very special guest here, Garrett Campbell. How you doing today, my brother?
What an intro. It's hard to live up to.
I got to do my thing. It's not all of it. I mean, tell them a little bit of your stats. So we talked about the $8 million in sales.
Yep.
We talked about the 250 sales reps being given a livelihood, able to make some money in sales. What else have you done?
Yeah, I mean, we've staffed like a couple hundred different sales teams, scaled 5 different teams over $1 million a month. Yeah, we've placed over 15 closers and 1 sales manager for the #2 online education business in the United States of America, 158 on the Inc. 5000 and a couple different other businesses on the Inc. 5000. So a couple of trophies in the trophy case.
The sales guy. All right, so now that we know that you're the GOAT in sales, they have a reason to listen to you from this point forward. Let's just talk about how you got to this point.
Sure.
Right? So we're going to take it all the way back from when you were first born. When you came out of your mother... No, I'm joking. But where were you born, Garrett?
I was born in a small town called like Carlinville, Illinois.
Okay.
So right next to like St. Louis and like Springfield and like central Illinois.
Beautiful. And you were there like throughout your entire upbringing, middle school, high school,
Yep.
Not college?
Yep. Like town of like 5, like maybe 6,000 people. Super like blue collar. Everyone like welds or farms or does construction or HVAC and shit like that. So to do what I do, no one comprehends what I do.
Damn. Yeah, I can understand what that probably feels like. But let's take you back to that time period of your life. Let's talk high school, for example. Tell me a little bit more about what you were like in your high school days. Like, what was your focus on? What did you think you were going to be doing in your future? And then tell me a little bit more about your family and your social life in that time period as well.
Yeah, I mean, unhealthy obsession with sports. So my pure unhealthy focus in business and sales and shit used to be sports, and now I just channel it all into this. So football, basketball, baseball, like every summer I was traveling to go to different states and like play high levels of like baseball. Sports wise, fuck, GPA, school shit. Like I had like a 3.9 GPA. Like school came very easy to me. And I was kind of the kid sleeping in the back of the class. I like broke the record for having the most detentions and tardies in school history. I just didn't like showing up. I'd show up in PJs and I'd still crank out like 100% tests and stuff, which was funny. And yeah, I think I realized in school, like the way to game the system was like what people care about is an A on a test or an A in the class. So it's like, what's the most leverage and like the lowest input thing I can do to get the output. And when I stepped into college, and I know we're not there yet, I realized this like wasn't it. And then the game of adulthood was like, just like how it's getting the A, it's like getting the money and like the lowest input, like highest leverage thing possible. So I kind of fucked off in school, and it wasn't really mentally stimulating for me. Pretty humble, like, you know, lower middle class family. Like my dad builds houses. He runs his own business. He's stubborn and won't ever hire people, but, runs a great business, nice little construction business. And then my mom is like a teacher. So amazing parents. They poured a lot into me on just how do you treat people, make sure everyone's got a smile on their face. Like your reputation means everything. Like treat people right. Like that was instilled to me at such a young age. And shit, I started working in like 4th grade, mowing lawns and shit. So that was good.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. In terms of like what your parents poured into you, I think if there's one thing that I have to say about you, Garrett Campbell, is definitely one of the most genuine and nice, down to earth guys I've ever met.
Appreciate it.
And I say that with a lot of weight. So for anyone who's watching this episode, I don't care where I am by the time that you're watching this episode, whether I have 1 million subscribers or even if I just have 10. One thing I do want you to know is that the guy that's sitting next to me right now is what led to all of this. even being on this episode today, it started with Garrett Campbell. He was the first person that had ever believed in me when it came to trying to accomplish the things that I wanted to. And he opened the doors to me without me having the credibility for those doors to be open yet. So quick pause in the episode just to give you that thanks, because it really led to everything else, and wanting to find this genuineness within other online business owners as well, so that the people that are out there looking for help, looking for mentors, know who they should look to.
Yeah.
So
I appreciate that. I mean, dude, the second we met, I was like, you have a way of speaking and pulling information out of people and getting people to say shit they otherwise wouldn't so well. And you're like, oh, I want to do this podcast. I'm like, dude, you'd be the best podcast host ever. Like, this is a no brainer. Like, start it. I'll be your first guest.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah. It's crazy how it all worked its way around, like in terms of the full circle moment, which led us to here today. But back to your story. So like in high school, obviously you were a big sports guy. You were good at baseball. You traveled all over the States so that you could play baseball. School came easy to you, so you had a pretty good GPA.
Yeah.
But what was like, were you the popular kid, given that you were good at sports and you had good grades? Like, what was your actual social life like throughout that time?
I floated group to group really heavy. It was weird because like most of the sports kids were in like shop class, welding class, and there's like a higher tier and lower tier to every class. So you go college prep or like normal. They were all in like the dumb classes and like the blue collar classes because they didn't give a fuck about school.
Yeah.
I was in all the AP classes.
Okay.
So I like have this smart group of friends that are like a little like, not nerdy. There's like, super intelligent and less into sports.
Yeah.
So I was like kind of in that crowd, but I was in the sports crowd and also, like to have fun. So I was in the party crowd a little bit. And I was just acquainted with everyone. And even the goofy kid in the school that got picked on, I was the nicest person in the whole school to them. And they always knew like they would come to me. Like I had literally 2 different people that I saved their lives from like committing suicide by like pouring into them and being the one person that actually gave a fuck about them. So I just knew everyone and was acquainted with everyone, but wasn't in a niche kind of group.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that sticks out to me, like learning about this phase of your story, which is sad to say, but most people change a lot when they start making a shit ton of money, right? Specifically for men, like the 2 main things that could ever change a man are number 1, money, for good or for worse, and number 2, woman, for good or for worse, right? It's great to learn that like this genuine personality that you have now, you've always had. Yeah. And I know you said your parents poured a lot into you, but like, where does that come from? Like, why have you always cared so much about other people?
I grew up in a small town where like, dude, I'm not kidding. Everyone memorizes everyone's car. Everyone knows everyone's like parents, so they know your license plate. So if you drive past them and I don't wave at Cal's calling me like, hey man, are we cool? Are we good? So it's a small town thing. It's like everyone knows everyone, be nice to everyone, because if one thing happens in your little town, like all 5,000 people know in a minute. So it's like, you have to treat people right because there's so few people. That was a big piece of it. And I think with my dad, with his like smaller construction business, like he doesn't have crazy business acumen. He's not going to masterminds and all types of stuff. I mean, he grew up in a fucking trailer with nothing in a really rough family. But like what he did tell me was, it's like, as long as you pray to God and you interact with people and you go above and beyond and you do what you say you do, like everything will come full circle. And he always had 2 years of business stacked up, and he's like, just treat people right and like pray to God and everything else will figure itself out. So I just knew the value of reputation, and like all of his business came from referrals. And I'm just like, there's just no world where treating everyone right and over delivering and doing the right thing doesn't compound over time.
I'll give you that. Like I get it. Like you came from a small town. You learned a lot from your father. You knew the power of reputation. But still, man, like there's got to be something deep that like pulled you towards it. Because look, being nice to everyone is one thing, right? But not just giving them your time, taking responsibility to pour into someone that was suicidal, and for you to be the person that saved them, there's got to be something else. There's got to be something deeper within you that just like attracted you towards those individuals. Not even attracted you, but more so made you take responsibility in those cases. Because look, I'm not trying to sound too dark, but like whether that individual committed suicide or not, it wouldn't have been your fault. Right. But what was it that in your head where you were like, man, I can help this person, and you took the responsibility to actually do it?
10 minutes out of my day equals his life existing. Worth it. So it's just like, I don't know. I just know karma, like what goes around comes around. If I do good for people, it'll come back to me. And it's just like, why not? Like, if you're the person who knows that you could put in an eensy little bit of fucking effort and save someone's life, or help someone start a podcast, or run a business, or fix their sales team, or make more money in their sales job, like, why the fuck wouldn't you? Like, that's just the guy I want to be. And that's like the reputation I want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And you actually touched on like what I wanted to lead into next, which is like how this entire persona, which you had even when you were in high school, like led into how successful you are in business. Do you think that's directly attached in terms of just like having that genuine kind of personality?
Yeah. Like, I don't even think it's like, oh, money didn't change me. I think because I have the personality I have and I treat people the way that I treat people, that's why I have money. Because I over delivered and gave value and went overboard with every interaction I had. And that's what built my network up to give me access to the people I have access to that led me here today.
Got it. So if you weren't that person, you don't think you ever would have made the amount of money that you have up until this point?
No, I think that's why people have short careers in the online space.
Yeah.
Is because, oh, wow, they have this big name. But if you have this large group of people that you literally fuck over.
Right.
And as you get bigger, that group of people tells the new people, hey, this person fucked me over, did this one thing. Then your name gets demolished and then you crash down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's the only way to do it.
We've seen that a lot when it comes to like online business owners crashing and burning, and it's because of that in specific. And to be honest with you, bro, that's why I wanted to do this. Like, that's what this podcast is all about. You know, is to highlight people like you who are not successful, but that are also real and genuine and like care deeply about actually helping the person that they're working with, whether or not that person paid them for it. You know what I mean? But back into your story. So like at this point, obviously we understand what things were like for you in high school.
Yeah.
But one question I do have is, when you were in high school, what did you think you were going to do with your life? Like, what were you going after?
I thought I was going to be a chiropractor.
Really? What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I got adjusted since I was a newborn baby, like 2 weeks old.
Oh, wow.
I went to the chiropractor. Like, my parents had friends in college that was that chiropractor. So they were just always learning from them, and they were big on it, and they were about to have a baby, and they're like, hey, you know, bring them in. And I just loved it. I was always there my whole life. And I just saw, I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do, but when I'd see, you know, my parents get pulled over for like a freaking seatbelt or a speeding ticket, I knew they were pissed off. When I see someone get towed, I knew they were pissed off. I was like, man, this is like cop, which, you know, love cops, do your thing. But like, I just know every single human being that I interact with hates to see them. And that's their day, all day, every day. And then when I'm sitting in the chiropractic office and I'm fucking learning how to write cursive, I'm like, see this person like holding their back, man, it hurts. I could barely even tie my shoes. And they walk out like, dude, thank you so much. Like, I feel so much better. And they make like a fucking $250,000 a year. I was like, you literally just help people and make a shit ton of money. Like, I'm into, you know, sports. I'm into fitness. Like, I lift all the time. Like, there's like a blend of making money, helping people, and like fitness and stuff. It's like a perfect little blend here. And like, why not? This is what I'm going to do.
Do you see how it's all connected?
Yeah.
It's all connected. And that's what most people don't realize is like, they could see you now, for example, and be like, what the fuck? He's making X amount per month. He's doing this, that, and the other. And they don't think that it's connected at all to like any of your past experiences, when it's all fucking connected.
All
like, even when you were in high school, the personality that you had, the fact that you went out of your way to help that one person who was suicidal, the reason you chose chiropractor, the reason that you didn't become a chiropractor, it all comes down to the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it for you, but like, what do you think that virtue is? That's all interconnected between those phases of your life.
I don't fucking know.
Do you think that it's like, it could be like a deep rooted purpose to like serve others?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I think I just want to help and be as helpful as possible. I think to add value to the world is just to help people, and like the more people you help, the more money you make. And I just think that, again, there's no world where helping a lot of people is not advantageous.
Yeah. Yeah. Nothing bad could come out of it, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So you wanted to become a chiropractor.
Yep.
We know why you wanted to become a chiropractor.
Yep.
So what happened when you graduated high school? Is that what you thought you were going to college for?
Yeah. I went to Illinois State University in Bloomington, Illinois. Went there for a year and a half, 2-ish years. That's what I thought it was. And I was like, okay, like I'm about to learn so much about being a chiropractor. And I was also kind of in my party phase in
Yeah.
high school. So I was obviously excited for that. And like I was been doing sports nonstop. So it was so weird for me because I have this like, you know me, like, I mean, everyone in this room knows me. Like I'm like, go, like hyper obsessive about this one thing.
For
and
sure.
like when sports wasn't there, I was like, where do I put this? Like, what do I fucking do? Like I was used to, you know, literally eat really healthy, like go to school, after school, 2-3 hours worth of practice, and then I lift for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then I crank out any homework, and then I pass the fuck out. Repeat for 4 years, and then that didn't happen. I had nowhere to channel that energy. So I got to college, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pour it into being the best future chiropractor I could be. And then I go into class, and I'm in like the history of India, and I'm like, what are we learning about cracking backs here? Like, what the fuck is this? And I'm in like speech class and I'm in politics and I'm like, the kids that are here are like, you know, nothing wrong with this, but like their parents are just paying for their tuition and like they're just fucking off and like they're on drugs in class. And I was like, I thought this was like the step before adulthood.
Yeah.
Everyone just getting fucked up and not paying attention and not caring about their future at all. Like, I feel like I had I don't know. Like, I feel like my circle is like not it. And I just kind of fell into that a little bit. And that's what I did. I started hanging out with, you know, wild crowd and going to a bunch of raves and doing what people do at raves. And I just had a huge party phase. And then, yeah, after my freshman year, I was just fucking depressed. I was anxious and I was like, I don't like myself. I don't like where I'm at with things. Like I don't like this at all. And yeah, sophomore year, dropped out. So,
Bro, take me back to that time. I think it's very important. You know, like I dealt with very similar time, like periods of life where from the outside looking in, someone could look at it and say, oh, he's having the time of his life. But deep down, only you knows that you're depressed, you're anxious. You look at yourself in the mirror and you probably want to spit at that motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, can you tell me more about like how that actually felt and like why you think you were feeling that way?
Yeah. I mean, it was dark, dude. I was just, I don't know. Like, I mean, I was doing a bunch of drugs and shit and like, not a lot. Like, I wasn't like addicted. Like I wasn't like in a terrible situation, but yeah, I mean, I was doing
just typical college bullshit.
Yeah. Typical college bullshit. And I just was in a relationship that I didn't like. She was a large negative influence and got me doing a bit of that stuff. All my friends were fucking bums. Like I had friends that were in their late 20s that I was hanging out with when I'm like 19 and I'm like, oh, this guy's so fucking cool. I'm like, why don't they have friends their age? Cause they don't have anything going on.
Yeah.
And I was young. I mean, dude, I was fucking 18, 19 years old. And I just didn't like anything in my life at all. And I just got terrible social anxiety because I literally didn't know how to communicate people if it wasn't about partying or like whatever. Yeah, it's fucking dark. Like I had like social anxiety, which is crazy. Like the idea of me being in a sales job right now and being on this podcast, it would be inconceivable to my brain.
Wow.
When I was a freshman in college, like, yeah, like literally telling a waiter that they fucked up my food. I was just like, I'll just eat it.
Got you.
Like I was very introverted. And I just didn't know how to communicate about anything besides partying. So yeah, I had really bad social anxiety. I remember I was going to rush a business fraternity and I literally was so anxious before I got an anxiety attack and I just stayed home. So yeah, dark fucking chapter of my life for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. Would you say that was your rock bottom or did it get worse?
Fuck yeah. That was definitely it. That's when I decided I was going to drop out. So,
and let me ask you this question hypothetically. Knowing where you are now, right? And we'll get into that, like how you got to where you are now from that rock bottom point. But sitting where you are sitting today and looking back on that point of your life and kind of feeling those emotions again, if rock bottom were a person, right? Or a living human being that you could speak to right now, and you could say one thing to rock bottom, knowing where you are now and how that period of time might have led to where you are now, what would you say to rock bottom if it were me?
It's a really good question. your environment is the reason why you're so unhappy, and you're choosing all these inputs that are going into your life, and you don't even realize that's why you're not happy, because that is your whole reality. And until you remove yourself from that, you're not even going to realize it. So my words are going to hold no weight to you until you figure this out yourself. Get the fuck out of this environment. Get away from your friends. They're all bums. Why are they doing drugs on a Wednesday? Why are you doing drugs on a Wednesday? Why are you with this girl? Like, why are you in college? Like, every single person that you've met, for the most part, I've definitely met some great people there, have been a negative influence. You didn't do this shit. You had a whole different mindset. You had aspirations. You were lifting. You were doing sports. You were going hard. And you just channeled all that energy into all negative shit. And if you keep going down this path, you're going to be a fucking bum.
Yeah.
Like, the only way you get out of this is getting out of this neighborhood, get away and go isolate yourself and like figure your shit out.
That's deep. Yeah, that's deep, man. There's a quote that I talk about a lot, and it is, wherever you are, that's where you are. And it's probably like a confusing quote to understand right off the bat, but as I like studied it deeper, it's basically talks about how like wherever you are, that's where the fuck you are. And what it means is you're always going to be the common denominator in every situation that you're in life. And a lot of the times people in a similar situation as you were in, they might look at it and say like, oh, I need to change the people that I'm with. I need to change where I am. I need to change X, Y, and Z, but they forget to look internally. And they don't realize that if they don't change who they are, doesn't matter where they are, that's where they are. You know what I mean? So wherever you go, that's where the fuck you are, is like understanding that you're always going to be the common denominator in every situation. And the only reason that you're in that environment and surrounded by the people that you are is because of who you are.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And you weren't being the person that you were true to your entire life through that period of time, which is what created your environment around you.
Definitely.
So you had to go back to being who you truly were in order for everything else around you to change.
Yeah. My internal talk track was just fucked. Like the conversation I have with myself all day, every day, was just this negative loop, which made me find more self-destructive things to do.
Yeah. What was that like? Like what was that internal dialogue like?
I mean, it was just like, oh, dude, like a business fraternity, like, dude, you're not good enough for that. Like, you need to go hang out with these guys that are fucking around. You know what I mean? Like, oh, dude, like, you don't want to take that like internship with that chiropractor. Like, dude, like no one's taking school this seriously right now. Like, worry about that when you're a senior. Like, just like shit like that. Like, it wasn't anything too crazy. Any opportunity or anything that was good for me, I viewed as like try hard shit, or like, I don't know. Like, did you go to college?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Like you just, I don't know, like a college campus, like with a bunch of 18-year-olds that just got freedom from their parents in an environment where there's no supervision, and you're just around a bunch of random people from a bunch of different backgrounds. Like,
don't you think it's fucking insane how normalized it is though, for it to be the way that it is? Like it's completely normal. Like you and I will talk about it and be like, bro, can you fucking believe that this is the way that they live? Yeah. I used to visit a lot of colleges, like go visit my friends for fun and shit. Yeah. And like what we would do on the weekend, they would say like, oh, this is what we do like every day of the week. Yeah. I literally every single time think to myself like, how the fuck is this what you do? Like, how do you even stay sane? Oh yeah. Like to us, it's fucking insanity, but it's so normalized. It's literally like fucking parents look forward to their kids experiencing those things. Some parents motivate it, or like, yeah, they like motivate their kids to have that college experience, you know? Yeah. And I mean, fucking crazy. I'm saying all this, I was still going to the library until 2 a.m. some nights to study for my test. And I still had a 3.8, 3.9 GPA in college, because you needed a 3.9 or higher to get into chiropractic school. I was still visiting chiropractic schools. Like, there were kids literally not going to class, never studying, never even buying the book for the class, that just failed every single class and just didn't give a fuck. Bro, I was friends with half of them. Yeah, me too. Fucking their parents are paying for them too. They're not they're not tied to any of this shit. They just fucking wake up and roll up a blunt. I'm just like, yo, what the fuck is going on? Another testament to my parents, they made me pay for it. And like, you know, not that they could pull 20 grand a year out of their ass anyway, but they made me pay for it. And it really made me self-reflect every
semester every expense and be like, do I want to pay this? Like, is this going to be the debt that I want over my head for the rest of my life? Like, I was very conscious of that. And I think that's a reason why I kind of had my big wake up call, and I didn't pursue much further into college.
Yeah. All right. So tell me this, like, obviously this was after your first year of college that you decided to drop out. Is that right?
Yeah. So I technically finished my second year. But the last semester of that second year, I was
you knew you weren't going to come back.
Flipping shoes and trading stocks, and, you know, I kind of got into sales right around then. So I was selling, like, I was full blown entrepreneur, and Zoom was just kind of going on in the background.
So this is the meat that I want to get to, because like, obviously I would assume you didn't just decide to drop out without having anything in your left hand, you know, like you had to have something that you were going to continue driving towards. So how did that transition? Like, where did you start getting into these different ways for you to make money online in the second year of college? Like, how did it all start from the very beginning?
And like, interesting enough, like, I think it was towards the end of the first semester of my freshman year, in Carbondale, there's SIUC. They have this like solar bear, polar bear thing.
Okay.
There's like these big parties where a bunch of different people travel into and stuff. And it was like 3 a.m, and I'm in this random fucking house. And this dude shows me, like, he's like, hey, bro, check this out. And I was like, okay, what is it? It's a Shopify screenshot for $60,000 in sales in a month.
It was either going to be a Shopify screenshot or a bag of Coke in that situation. Like, there's no in between. Some dude's coming up to you at a college party like, yo, check this out.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what I was going to expect. And I was like, it's funny now because I'm like, I know precisely what this is. But I was like, what is this? Is this a bank account? Like, do you trade stocks? Like, the digits on a screen, like I couldn't even comprehend or fathom what this was. And he's like, he explained the concept of drop shipping to me, and I was like, but like, you're here at the same party with me, so like how the fuck does this work? Like 60 grand in a month, like, dog, that's my like mom's salary. Like, how in the fuck are you doing this? Like, you're equally as retarded as me right now. Like, how the fuck is this happening? It broke my brain. And he explained, like, you know, you ship a product and then you pay it back and you have a little margin. And I was like, whoa. And I couldn't even comprehend it, but it like opened my eyes to make me type in make money online on YouTube. And it opened my eyes, and I did a couple drop shipping stores. I tried Amazon FBA. I was like drop servicing like websites kind of, and I was precisely making $0 fucking through all of this. And then I traded stocks, and I did make some money trading stocks.
Why did we all try e-com, bro?
Right.
All right. So you're trading stocks. My bad. Go ahead.
I was trading stocks, and I actually made like decent-ish money. Like when your rent's $500 a month, I was making pretty good money. Today's money is like, you know, I was poor as fuck. But yeah, I was trading options on like the S&P 500 and Apple and some of these blue chip stocks and buying penny stocks and stuff. And I was making a couple grand here and there. And then I started flipping shoes. And when I started flipping shoes, it was crazy. So, this was where I first was like, whoa, I'm like kind of like really making money. I was flipping shoes. So there was a pair of, one of the buddies that I trade stocks with, he had a pair of strawberry cuffs, and it was a Nike SB Dunk. If the sneakerheads are like, oh, I got to know what he's talking about. And there's like a little strawberry coughing on the side of it. And strawberry cough is a weed strain. And Nike discontinued the shoe because they didn't want to be connected with smoking marijuana, because they're like, victory winning is their whole thing. It doesn't really match up. So they discontinued the shoe, and he's like, hey dude, they just discontinued this. I don't even have the money to buy these, but this guy's trying to sell them and he doesn't realize they got discontinued yet. You're going to get this for a crazy price. If you wanted to buy it, I know you are, you know, into making money. Like, I figured you might want to give these a try. I was like, sure. So I paid $2,000 or $2,200 at the time, which was a lot of money to me.
For the pair of shoes.
For the pair of shoes.
Which was the good price.
Correct. The good price.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And he's like, dude, they're selling for like 4K. Like you could probably sell them for 4K. I was like, okay. I had no idea how the fuck I was going to find someone to buy these pair of shoes for $4,000. But I was just like, yeah, sure. He says it's true. I like this guy. You know, Hank's the man. I'm sure he's right.
Fuck it, right?
Yeah. And I was like, how am I going to sell these? I got them. And I'm like, oh my God, like, now what? This is all my money for the most part. And I posted on my Snapchat. I was like, if a bunch of broke college kids on my Snapchat, probably a couple hundred, I don't know. And I was like, hey, if you guys, I posted a picture of the shoe, I'm like, repost this. And if you connect me with the buyer, I'll give you $100. all these college kids are like, $100, dude, that's my bar tab. Like, let's go.
I'm in it.
I got like 100 reposts. I got like 2,000 people that added me overnight on Snapchat.
Jesus.
And because no one could get access to these shoes, they thought I was this massive sneaker reseller. They're like, bro, how'd you get your hands on those? Who's your connect? Like, do you know people at Nike? I was like,
you're like,
I do know a guy.
I got a guy. His name's Hank.
You wouldn't know Hank. You know, he's really high up. No, I was like, so I sold them for like, I don't know, $3,800 or something like that, $4,000. I was like,
made at least 1,000, huh?
Yeah. I was like, holy shit. Like, this isn't like trading a stock where I can lose money. Like, granted, you know, I could get fucked over on the shoe, which I didn't know yet, but that definitely happened. I was like, whoa. And then all these people will be like, can you get me this shoe? Can you get me this shoe? And I'm like literally Googling, what's a chunky dunk? I had no idea what this stuff was, but I started flipping shoes was the point, right? And I started making 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever grand a month doing this. And it was pretty nuts. I had a lot of, wins, a lot of losses. We don't have to spend too much time on it, but that was my thing where when I dropped out, I was like, I'm good.
You thought you were going to keep reselling shoes when you initially dropped out?
I knew it would buy me a little time. I didn't think I was going to be the biggest reseller on the planet.
Okay.
At that point, I was like, rent's paid. I'm depressed as fuck. If I could get away from these people and cover my bills, like I'll figure something else out.
Before we move into like the juicy part of your story where you started making a shit ton of money, I just want to spend a little time on one thing that I caught that I think like all of us go through, and is like important for the people that haven't went through this yet to realize it. When you met the Shopify kid who showed you the 60K on his screen, one of the realizations you stated that you made was that like this kid, number one, is at the same party that I am, but number two, just as stupid as I am.
Yeah.
Right? And I think a lot of the times for the people that are outside looking in, whether they see you or any of our other buddies or any other online business owner, they look at them and they just think that they're like extremely special or different or just this like once in a lifetime individual. And not that you're not special or talented or not, that none of us are. It's all I'm saying is that like for these people, the only difference is that they actually take action.
Yeah.
And most of the time they're not any different than you are. The only difference is that they actually did take action. So do you agree with that and the fact that like when it comes to like being successful, specifically in online business, it doesn't mean that you're special or you're skilled or you have this unique talent. It's simply that number one, you have to be genuine, and number two, you have to take fucking action.
I think it's your reaction to seeing other people winning. Because I could have saw that and be like, this fucking liar. Like he pulled that off of Google. He's full of shit. There's no way you can make that much money. This guy's a fucking scammer. Anyone that makes that much money screwing people over, like, he probably has daddy's money. That's the only way this can happen. It's like, if that was my mentality, which is a lot of people's mentality, unfortunately, like, I probably wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. That probably would have been the end of it. I would have wrote it off as nothing, and I would have went about my day and kept being a dumbass.
Yeah.
It's seeing that and being like, this guy's not more intelligent than I am. Doesn't have anything else that I don't have, and he's crushing it, and I'm not. Like, what am I missing?
Yeah.
And I think when you see people do that, like the amount of people I've met at masterminds, and I'm like, this fucking dipshit's making $500,000 a month, like. Okay, like I can do it because like I'm clearly missing something here because this person is not more intelligent than me. He doesn't have more resources than me. He doesn't have anything that I don't have, and he's crushing me right now. Like, why? I think the curiosity and like abundance mindset of seeing someone win doesn't mean I can't win or they screwed someone over, but that I can too is ungodly important.
Yeah. I think that's big time, man. Is just like reacting with curiosity instead of envy. And asking yourself the right questions. Because you're so right. Like I can show someone, for example, like $1 million, and like the first things that they would say is like, oh, that's got to be daddy's money, or like, oh, he must have been given it, or oh, he must have won the lottery. Instead of like, it's so few people, and it's crazy as fuck. There's so few people in this world that will look at that and just be like, I wonder how he did that. Yeah. And assess it like in comparison to what they have available to them, what you have available to yourself, and just try to like construct a path to where you can get there as well without just like being fully consumed of envy to where it blinds you from what you could be doing to get to where they are as well.
Yeah, because I think that light bulb moment of seeing that kid in the kitchen, I wish I remembered his name. I probably have his fucking Snapchat or something. It was the light bulb moment that made me act. And I think a lot of people don't act because they see people winning and then they cope and give a reason as to why they can do it, but I can't.
Yes.
And that's what makes them not act, because they've never seen someone with their level of capability, at least in their own perception, the things that they can do it too. So they're like, oh, of course I can't. There's no point in wasting my time on that.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I agree. All right. So like at this point, 2 years after being at ISU, you decided to drop out.
Yep.
Right. So when you decided to drop out, you were still reselling shoes. Like that was what you were doing to make a livelihood. Right.
Yeah.
So when you dropped out, you just went home and you were reselling shoes, or what did that all look like right after you dropped out?
Yeah. I've had 2 concussions in my lifetime, so the timeline's a little funky here, but somewhere in there, I was either reselling or I started my first like high ticket sales role, because I was still flipping shoes, because COVID happened at this moment too. So I get a knock on the door at college and they make me go home. All of my people were buying shoes and shit from me, lived in Chicago or lived in Bloomington. So I had to go 4 hours south, 5 hours south of Chicago, 2-3 hours south of Bloomington. And I'm like, I was literally driving 5 hours to Chicago to go sell some of these shoes.
The blue collar workers in your town don't wear chunky dunks?
No, they wear boots, dog.
Oh, cool. Just
yeah, right. So yeah, I was doing that and I was just restless, and like, my mom's a teacher, dude.
Gotcha.
Like, just I was doing Zoom classes, not even giving a fuck about them, and just like researching shoes and stuff. She's like, Garrett, like, come on, like, you're gonna be a chiropractor, like, get your shit together, like, quit focusing on shoes, like, quit watching Gary Vee videos, like, what are you doing? So yeah, I got out of there immediately, like within probably 2 months or so of being home. I got an apartment in Bloomington, and I kept flipping shoes.
So you went back to Bloomington to live over there?
I got an apartment because
Gotcha.
I just needed my own space.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, again, I didn't flip shoes for a crazy amount of time, but I got fucked over and I lost like $4,000 on a fake pair of shoes, which sucked.
Shit.
And multiple things. I mean, I bought 10 pair of Yeezys that ended up never just getting shipped to me, and got fucked over on that. $4,000 pair of shoes. I mean, I was making cash and burning cash because I didn't understand how business worked, or like how to vet people out to make sure they're not going to fuck you over. But the shoe game is it's a sketchy crowd. And ironically enough, the girl that I'm dating now at the time, which Michelle, pivotal in my life, like really helped me get my shit together and level up, and, you know, very grateful to be where I'm at today. And she was a huge, you know, value add to help me get to where I'm at. Like, I will never thank her enough for that. She was kind of doing business stuff at the time, and she showed me this guy who ran a sales agency, was given like a sales training in the Zoom call. And I was flipping shoes at the time and a little bit down bad, you know, had a couple bad deals. And he's like, hey, he's doing like sales stuff. And I was like, maybe he'll help me sell a pair of shoes or two. And he was talking about slinging $20,000 packages over Zoom. And I was like, hold on. You're telling me that I could sell shit on Zoom, so I don't have to like ship in a box of shoes from Texas, take pictures of them, and then go meet some sketchy motherfucker at the back of a police station and exchange cash? And then I don't even have that margin. I could just make 10% commission on a 20K package, make $2,000 and do it from Zoom
Without leaving your crib.
Without leaving my crib, without, you know, like taking on the amount of risk that I was taking with capital and holding capital and getting it stuck in shoes. I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm playing the wrong game here. And then I hopped on, he had like 1 million followers, verified, the whole shebang. And he was doing Instagram lives every night. And I was like eating it up, dude. I was watching every single one. And then he was doing like a Q&A. And I requested to speak, but there were like 600 people in here. So I'm like, I'm not going to get fucking picked. And then like my screen starts loading and I was like,
no way.
Oh my God. Like, whoa, I don't even know what I'm going to ask. I was just clicking it. So I'm like, fuck it. Nothing's going to happen here. And dude, I jumped out of bed, like flipped my lights on, like fixed my hair. And I was like, dude, like I look up to you a lot and you make a lot of money and I want you to make a lot of money. You hiring sales reps? And he was like, yeah. Because he's got 600 of his followers looking at him. What's he going to say? Fuck off, kid. Get out of here. You know? He's like, it takes balls to ask that question in front of this many people with the circumstance that you're in right now. If you have the balls to ask me for a sales job in front of this many people, you'll probably do pretty good in sales. Shoot me a DM. My team will get back to you. We'll figure it out. Shoot me a DM. And I did. And then I landed the job and I started working for his sales agency. So that's kind of how I broke into the high ticket space.
That was your first ever sales gig? Is the role that you landed by hopping on an Instagram live and
the first like real role. I sold supplements in high school, so I was really big into fitness. So I'd sell like pre-workout and protein and SARMs, and I was on SARMs and shit in high school. So I was selling those, but like nothing crazy. And I took a couple calls when I was like drop shipping and shit for this one friend in my town who's the only other kind of online business guy. He had some like life coaching kind of shit, but like an actual like role where I'm taking a lot of calls and it's like serious. Like, yeah, it's my first one.
All right. So how did that go for you? Like when you first started in your first high ticket sales role, obviously at this point, like what would you say is the most you ever made in a month before you started that role?
Like
$6K a month?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you're living in your apartment in Bloomington. You're making $6K a month max. You just started off in this high ticket sales role. What happened next? Like, how did you perform? What happened? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Month one, terrible. So I was just like, I know I suck. And I was just, reading like The Psychology of Sales by Brian Tracy. I was just consuming any sales training, reading all the books that I could, because I knew I was terrible. And I was very surprised that I got hired, because I was shocked, because I thought the guy in that Instagram live was like a walking god. So to work for him, I was like, holy shit, like I gotta go hard. Like this is my one opportunity. Cause like seriously, like in my hometown, like these things don't happen. Like if you have a company truck and you make 80 grand a year, like you're balling out. Like it's just inconceivable to like Garrett, living in that small town. It's just like a bubble. It's like living under a rock. Like there's so many things I just didn't understand until I left, which I love the town, but just, so yeah, I was fucking terrible. I was working like 14-hour days. I didn't even know the difference between setting and closing. I got a Google sheet with a name, email, phone number, and they said, Garrett, go make some money. And I'm like, okay. So I organized the leads from UK to Pacific time in order of time zone, because if I started doing calls at 7, 8 in the morning, I could call people in the UK and it was like noon-ish. So I wasn't waking them up out of bed in the morning. And then I'd do calls until 7, 8 p.m. and I'd call people in California where it's at least 5 p.m. It's not too late. And I'd call people then. And I was just cranking them out. And again, I was literally calling what I now know is opt-in leads.
Yeah, so you were fucking cold calling in a certain sense. Like you were calling a set leads. You thought you were in a closing position. You didn't even know the difference.
Yeah, so I was calling people who opted in for some free training, and I was closing them. I was trying to close them, and I was like, why is this not working? This is so hard, dude. I must suck. Like there's guys at this agency making fucking 70 grand a month. I'm like, what am I missing here? Like this shit's hard. We did the first call review. He's like, oh my God, bro. He's like, you got to set up another call and then take that call. I was like, oh, that would be so much easier. He's like, yeah, try that. And like my first month, we didn't do a call review until basically the end of the first month. So I made like $1,700. I did close some people just on a raw.
That's funny as fuck.
It was crazy, dude. But yeah, I learned the difference between setting and closing, and I set up my own appointments and closed them. And I was like, okay, like this is a little bit easier.
There you go.
Probably made similar, $2,000 or so. And then they started putting some inbound appointments on my calendar. And that's where I was like, oh, well, this is really awesome. But the company was just like, it's funny because I have no idea what they were doing in revenue. They're probably doing like 30 grand a month as a business. Like they were fucking tiny. It's like, they really shouldn't have even had a sales rep, but I realized the hierarchy of this sales agency, they put the shitty reps on the shitty offers, and then they have the best offers with the best reps. And I'm like, I didn't get that. So they had some really sketchy shit happen, which I didn't know. Like I was 19, just kind of learning how everything works. My first sales job. I closed someone and they're like, hey, they didn't show up to the onboarding call. The link you sent was inactive and I text them too much and they blocked my number. What do I do? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Terrible misunderstanding. Let me speak with them. We'll get it figured out. And my sales manager goes, don't worry about it, bro. Just keep doing your thing. And I was like, no, I didn't do calls for 2 days. I was like, I'm not going to sell for this person. Put me on another client. And then they put me on a way better client, like Ty Lopez. I'm sure you know who that is.
Oh, you were closing for Ty.
So the make money, what was it? Sitting here in my garage ad. I sold for Ty. That was obviously a way more established situation there. I was making $4 or $5 grand a month, more inbound leads, which was cool. I didn't even know what SMMA was, but I was selling his SMMA coaching, which was hilarious. I knew what ecom was at the time, but I was selling his ecom and his SMMA stuff. Hilarious. I would love to look back at those sales calls. And then, made some money there. And they put me on another client. And the second I saw his ads and all their material, like Ty, I'm pretty sure dropped them as an agency. So they put me on this other contract and they're like, hey, you're going to start taking calls tomorrow. New guy, not Ty anymore. And I was like, oh, like just tell me the ads and stuff. And I was like, I don't think I can sell this. But I was like, hey, this is the biggest opportunity ever. Like I was so brainwashed, dude. I was like, this is my only opportunity ever. Like I have to seize this, this is everything. I closed the first person, same shit.
Yeah.
Dude, fucking $5 grand wasn't there. And like, I couldn't even communicate to the actual business owner.
Yeah.
The agency managed me and then I couldn't speak to the actual business.
Oh, wow.
So I was get a couple links on a Google Doc and they're like, go sell this. So I'm assuming that they have their shit together, but I don't know. And they wouldn't even let me speak with the business owner. So, this wasn't me maliciously trying to fuck people over. This was like me being kept blind on purpose by the agency and just doing what they tell me to. Same situation is like, kind of that. They're like, dude, just shut the fuck up and keep dialing. And I was like, fuck you guys. Fuck this whole agency. Fuck sales. I'm out. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice my ethics and morals for money. Like, this is slimy. I don't like this. I don't care how much money I'm making. I'm out. And dude, it was weird. I had a weird few months where I kind of flipped shoes again, kind of traded stocks again. Literally was waiting tables at Olive Garden just for like a bit, just to be like, what was that?
Fuck.
Weird moment. And one of my buddies, really glad, Jack White called me and he'd be like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you have so much potential. Like, what is this? Like, and I was like, yeah, valid. Like, I need to get my shit together. Like, I just hit this weird transition period where I kind of don't know what to do next. And then he ran an email marketing agency. So he hooked me up with a couple of business owner buddies and he's like, dude, go sell for them. Like, those were just sketchy companies. And I just thought that was my only perception of sales. So I thought that's just what it was.
So you thought this agency, like, you didn't know how big the high ticket sales space was. You thought that this was just something this agency was doing.
No, dog, this was 5 years ago. I didn't even know what the word high ticket sales meant.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm paying rent. Like, from flipping shoes to trading stocks, I'm like, money's hitting my bank account. This is cool. Sure. But yeah, and then I landed a role with a more legitimate company. I'm like, whoa, these guys have a sales manager and they have a client success department. I'm like, whoa, okay, this is cool. And then, dude, I fucking exploded.
Yeah.
Once I saw, like, I closed someone and they like text me and they're like, dude, thank you so much. We're going to be making so much more money now this year. Like, this was pivotal. Like, dude, everything you said, like, happens. Like, oh my God. Like, cause you do my whole story, like helping people was like the pivotal, like the thing that mattered.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, this is what I wanted out of chiropractic, was to like make money and genuinely help people throughout the process. And once I got that text, I was like, okay, I'm doing people a moral disservice if I don't close them.
Yeah.
And I was like, go mode. I was like 8K, 10K, 12K, 15K a month. And I was like, holy shit. So that was my big kind of rocket moment where I like really started making money.
That's fucking sick, man. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting pathway towards like finally being to a certain extent successful, but nowhere even near as successful as you are now, which is beautiful. But I think like the most genuine parts of your story come from like, well, first of all, I think the only reason you were performing, like you weren't performing really well is because you were just on the wrong offers. Like, you were selling shit that just didn't actually work, and the companies weren't legit in terms of like getting their clients results.
No.
And as soon as you were in that situation where what you were selling actually helped the person on the other side, which was true to who you are, that's where you exploded.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you're in this company, you're making like 8, 10, 12K a month, you're working for them. Like, then like, how did everything lead into you starting your own business?
I was in that offer. I switched to another offer. And they like, they had a phenomenal marketing and really good client success, but their sales systems were really bad. Like they had a sales manager and he like managed like 5 different sales teams. So he kind of didn't give a fuck. And like deals were getting closed. So he was like, he never reviewed one of my calls once. And I was like, I kind of don't know what you do, but you make way more than me. But anyway, there wasn't as much structure there. And their close rate was like 18%, 20%. And I got on board and I was reviewing some of their calls and stuff. And I was like, I don't sell like this. Like, I don't think this would even work. And dude, first month made like $9,000 or whatever. I'm like, that's a pretty good month one. Cause I'm still kind of learning the offer and learning the avatar and everything. And then I was like, I'm going to have an insane close rate. Like I just know, like I've been on a couple offers at this point. I know what I can crush and can't crush. So fast forward, business is doing like $200,000 a month, and like they spent more on ads, like phenomenal business owner, but we went from $200,000 a month to $800,000 a month. And like,
holy shit,
I had a 65% close rate.
Damn.
I was training the other reps on the team. They all had 50-60% close rates. I just changed their whole sales process and the way they actually navigated the actual calls. Cause it was just flawed. And I was making like 25, like $30,000 a month, but similar to some things about your story, I was training these reps. I was working the sales process, making things a little bit better and not getting paid for it.
All you were getting was the commission off the deals that you closed.
Of course, which I was cool with because I was like, dude, I want the reps on my team to eat. Like, I want them to be good so I can learn from them too. Mm-hmm. So I want to pour into them so that way we could be more equals and I could learn from them and they could learn from me. And like the whole company makes money. They can spend more on ads and we can get more calls and I can make more money. So it's like, again, helping everyone around me. There's no way this doesn't hurt me, right? It kind of goes back to that. And then I just got frustrated, dude. Like I was selling the same thing all day, every day, 12 calls a day, 10 calls a day, 9 calls a day, like same exact call. And it was like, cool. I make $700 in a 45-minute phone call and I was making killer money, but I was just like, I wasn't mentally stimulated. I was like, okay, this is easy. Like kind of like what's next?
But this was also the time period where you started like everything that you were doing within that company, you were tweeting about, right?
Yes, correct. So yeah, I was like, I don't know what this next thing is going to be. And I was on money Twitter, right? So I was tweeting out like, oh, like I had this one objection, but I handled it this way and it didn't work. But then I followed up with this guy this way and then it worked. And people were loving it. And I had a bunch of business owners DMing me, be like, hey man, can you work for my business? And I'm like, no. And like, can I look at your sales script? No. I was just literally deleting DMs every day, like 5 DMs a day. Like, can you place a rep? Can you fix our sales process? Can you write a script for us? Can you place a rep for me? I'm like, no, like I'm making killer money. Why would I do anything besides this? Like I'm ripping, like, dude, this was like, I didn't have any money and now I'm grasping money. It's like, I'm putting horse blinders on and put $100,000 in the bank. I was like, I will never not have money again. Like I'm going hard. So I was just horse blinders, like, bro, door dashing food, ripping calls all day. Like I was trying to get more international leads so I could go earlier or later. Like I was just like fill my calendar. So I was just deleting these DMs and stuff. And Tim, you asked me, how did I start this business? Okay, we're getting there. So eventually I was like, okay, I'm just going to take my calendar to like half capacity and let me see what these people are fucking DMing me about.
Okay.
And this guy was like, hey man, we have a VA staffing business. I'm a doctor. I have VAs in my business. It's way cheaper. I have this business where we place VAs in other doctors' businesses. And it's like this much. And like, I have a VA selling it right now. I was like, okay, like, well, what do you think I should do? I'm like, oh, probably put a closer in there instead of a virtual assistant from the Philippines. Probably should write a script and like, should probably call our opt-in leads. And that's probably what I would recommend. And he's like, cool. And he's like, how much? I'm like, I was like, I just came on here to help you, dude. Like, I don't know. I'm a sales rep. And he's like, $5,000 cool? I was like, sure. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. I guess I got a lot of work to do. Fucking get on a call with the next guy. Hey man, can you train up my closer? I don't really know what's going on with him. He has like a 15% close rate. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, how much? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, $2,000 cool? I'm like, yeah, sure. And like, dude, I made the first month I said yes to basically everything in my DMs. We made like 43 grand. And I was
holy
like,
shit, this is direct to you too. The first time ever. It's not like commissions, right?
Yeah. I'm used to making, 250 grand for someone and making 25.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I get 100%. This is awesome. So I kind of just was like freelancing. It was like, train me, train a sales rep, train a sales rep for someone's business, work out a business's process, fix their sales script, place a closer, place a setter. I was just saying yes to everything. And it just kind of evolved to where I was managing some sales teams on RevShare, had a big success with one of them, which was huge. I got them up to $600,000 a month, which was pretty gnarly. And I just realized through all the things that I was doing, all the business owners just wanted quality talent, and all the reps just wanted trained up a bit, and they wanted quality offers. And I was like, even with a lot of the management stuff I was doing, if I hired the right guy,
it's going to fill your place.
Like, don't get me wrong, sales management is abundantly important. But like at that point in time, when I didn't know sales management at the level that I do now, it's like, oh, if you just hire the right guy. And because like my role model for a sales manager was the guy who never reviewed one of my calls once.
Right.
I was like, oh, this guy's fucking, we do good. So you just hire the right guy and just kind of let him do the thing.
Yeah.
So I placed the right people, and then we got some good results. And that just kind of became the common denominator. And that just became the business was train up these reps, get them placed in quality offers that are actually vetted, that don't fuck their clients over, that have good marketing, that have good sales systems, that check all the boxes that checked me, because I sucked. I didn't make that much money at the sales agency. And then I got in these right offers with good results, and like, look what happened to me. I just got to like do that for other people.
Nice.
And then for the business owners, give them the best reps. So that's kind of how it all evolved.
That's awesome, man. Well, you have a fucking beautiful story. It seems like you produced results up the ass, especially when it came to when you first started freelancing. But now let's try to help the people that are watching this episode.
Yeah.
The people that might be in sales, whether they're working for a logistics company or they're working in the corporate world, anything that's sales related. I want them to be able to understand what high ticket sales is, and also how they can break into that space. So what is high ticket sales?
Great question. So high ticket sales is you're selling online services. So don't think of it as like high ticket, I'm just selling expensive things. It's like an industry. It's like its own thing. Just how you think tech sales is tech sales, car sales is car sales, high ticket sales is high ticket sales. It's its own thing. And there's a couple things that classify what makes something high ticket sales. Usually selling online services. So if you're like a marketing agency that builds websites, or someone who runs Facebook ads for restaurants, or like a coaching program, or different things like that. Like a lot of marketing agencies, a lot of marketing services, building websites, sending emails, a coaching program to help you get into Amazon or real estate or anything like that, or like going to a high level mastermind, like some that I've went with, like Alex Ramosi and Brian Moncada, and a lot of these high level masterminds, like paid a shit ton of money for those, and like someone's got to sell those. Yep. So selling stuff like that. And the big nuance is usually in your typical corporate sales role, when they hire salespeople, that's their marketing budget. So they don't say, hey, I'm going to go spend 10 million bucks on Facebook ads to get leads. It's, hey, I'm going to go give a bunch of SDRs fresh out of college a base pay to go prospect.
Right.
So in most sales roles, sales is doing all the arm wrestling from taking a complete stranger into a paying client. So you're speaking to complete strangers and trying to convince them to be kind of interested in your thing, then get them on a call. Then there's a longer sales cycle, and then the deal gets closed. Whereas in high ticket, about 80% of the work is done by the marketing. So they're pre-qualified. They understand the business. They have an interest in working with the business. They're financially qualified. They literally want to buy it. And that's why they're booking a Zoom call on your calendar. So it's warm inbound leads, and you're getting 10 to 15% commission on those things that you're selling. So you're only talking with warm inbound leads. You're not doing all this time prospecting, and you're selling services that are anywhere from like, there's really high ticket stuff. There's cheaper shit, but like 5 to 20K is kind of the sweet spot of like the prices of things that you're selling. And that's why I was making 30 grand a month. And that last offer was $7,000 service, 12% commission. Just taking 6 calls, 8 calls, 10 calls a day with a 50, 60% close rate. Like you're playing baseball and you go up to bat 10 times, except every time you get a hit, you make $500 to $1,000. It's kind of hard to not make a couple grand a day.
Yeah.
So that's in general, like what high ticket sales is. And when you look at the ways to make the most money in sales, it's a math equation. Yeah. Like you either talk to more people, which is the lowest leverage thing to do. You can close a higher percentage of the people that you talk to, which is a level of talking warmer leads or just increasing your close rate, just getting better at sales. Or you can make more money per sale. So if you audit your current sales position, you could be talking to a lot of people and closing a high percentage of those people. But if you make $20, $50 in every deal you close, good luck making a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you are closing a high percentage of those people, and you are making a good amount of money per sale, but you only get 3 inbound leads a month, like when you're selling like something really high level and there's a 3 to 6 month long sales cycle, good luck. You know what I mean? So you switch out those 3 variables. It's like most sales roles miss one of those and high ticket doesn't. And that's kind of the appeal.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like for high ticket sales reps, like they're getting these calls booked into their calendar, right? Based off of the company's marketing.
Correct.
So the people that are getting on these calls with them already know what they're offering, but more importantly, they're already interested in it. And the sales rep job at that point is really just to like learn more about the client, the prospect, understand whether or not they're a good fit for what they're offering.
Correct.
And then close them on the deal if they are a good fit.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, simple enough. So like generally, let's say for example, like, okay, we have a sales rep, right? The offer that they're selling is $5,000, right? And how many like sales calls in a week do you say like on average someone would take?
25. So like usually you get 100 calls booked in a month. So it's like 25. Normal show rate, about 60, 70%. So generally speaking, 25 calls booked in a week, probably take 20-ish, about 4 a day.
What's like the bare minimum closing ratio? Like if you're like,
yeah,
if you're not a great closer, but you should probably stay in high ticket closing is what, like 20%?
At a 5K price point, if you're like 15%, you're like on the verge of getting cut from the team, but you that's low. Average is like 30%.
Okay. So let's say that you're someone that can perform on average, right?
Yep.
I'm going to pull out my calculator. So you get 25 calls a week booked into your calendar. 70% of them are going to show up.
Yep.
So you're taking 17 calls.
Yep.
Okay. You're taking 17 calls and you're closing 15% of those deals. So that means that you're closing approximately 3 deals.
Yep.
Right? Those 3 deals are all worth $5,000. You close 3, so you generate $15,000 in cash collected.
Yep.
And you typically make like, what's the typical commission percentage?
10% low end, 15% high end, but it's 10 is probably most normal.
So if they're making 15%, that's $2,250 that they've collected. And if they're making 10%, which is the bare minimum, that's $1,500. So in the entire month, if they're the worst closer, like literally like the bottom of the barrel of closers, they're making $6K a month.
Yeah. Being like dog shit terrible.
And if you're decent, you're taking 25 calls. Let's say 20 of them show up. You're closing 20 of them show up. You're closing 20% of them. That's 4 deals at 5K, 20 grand at 15%, 3 grand. Over the course of the month, you're making 12K.
Yeah. And I think why it worked so well for me, if you're kind of in like the buffet of like which online thing do I do, you just have to get the person to say yes in this 45-minute conversation. That is it. It's not fucking drop shipping where you can make money drop shipping, but you got to make a high converting website with really good copywriting on it, with persuasive words. You have to write good ads. You have to have supply chain logistics work in your favor. You have to have a winning product. You have to be able to get that there in a timely manner. You have to also be profitable. Here it's like make person say yes on phone. And you've had this conversation hundreds of times. It's their first time having it. You should be better.
Well, what if I'm someone that's like watching this, for example, and I'm kind of just wondering like, should I do high ticket sales? Like, how do I answer that? You know, like, let's say, for example, well, first of all, I'll use like a very common example. Half the kids we know, they graduate college, they went to school for 4 years. Let's forget about how much debt they're in. But then they get a job at a logistics company as a freight broker where they make 32 grand a year as a base salary and bullshit commissions off the top, making like max 45, 50 grand in the year.
Yep.
If they're doing well enough, which the logistics company is just pulling the leads out of you.
Yeah.
But anyways, like I'm in a position where I graduated college. I'm currently working whatever bullshit 9-to-5 corporate job. And I'm just wondering while I'm listening to this, like, fuck, I want to do this. Like, can I do this? Should I do this?
Yeah. So you have a level of sacrifice that you're going to have to give up because you don't have a base pay. So it is commission only. You do have to eat what you kill. And I think you really have to shift your mindset in working, because if you're in more of a corporate role, it's kind of like, all right, like I usually make about the same amount of money no matter what I do. So I'm kind of just going to fuck off and be a little bit more complacent. And if you bring that energy into high ticket, you just have to work harder.
Yeah.
Like you have to care about your job. You have to want to improve. You have to know that I'm on this journey of improving my ability, because now I will never have a ceiling on my income again. And if that's your mentality and you have a work ethic, do it.
Gotcha.
If you like the benefits and you like the base pay and that's the route you want to go for it. But if you know deep down inside me, I have a fucking animal inside me, and like, I just don't think I'll ever be happy doing this, then like run full speed at this, because there's very little things that really reward you and give you a level of upside. And as you get better, you make more money than sales. Like,
also just, bro, the amount of fucking money you can make. Like, these guys in any corporate sales job are shooting for 6 figures for close to 5 years, when you can make that in a fucking within your first year of high ticket sales, as long as you're decent, right? And like,
yeah.
The other thing too is that you don't have to just like know how to sell. Like, these roles come along with scripts and frameworks that you can follow that literally tell you exactly what you need to say on these calls. You just need to be someone that can talk to people.
Yeah.
Right. But let me ask you this, like, how do you help people get into high ticket sales? Like, what is it that you with the Closing Bible are doing that can take someone and help them like become a high ticket sales rep?
Definitely.
How does that work?
Let's say Cal pays today for the Closing Bible. Like, what happens next, right?
Yeah.
So immediately from that point on, you get an onboarding call with our team. From there, we audit everything that you have experience in and what you have knowledge and expertise in. And we understand, like, okay, you'd probably do better in this type of sales role selling this type of thing because you have knowledge on this one thing versus something else. We kind of just audit you and like what you're probably best at. Then we go through a bunch of just, I don't want to say base level training, but like general training on like how the calls are functioning and like the structure and the physiology of how a call is actually ran. A lot of psychology stuff. And then once you've gone through that, we do like about 10 hours of like minimal training. And then most importantly, you get your hands dirty. So we give you 3 different scripts for 3 different like fake offers, basically like a B2B offer. Some people are like, I don't want to sell that coaching shit. Cool. Like, we have marketing agency scripts. If you're like, hey, I love this coaching stuff, I could see myself selling that. Cool. Or I want to go B2B and I like this mastermind and all this. Cool. Give you a script for all 3. And then you run through 5 different mock calls. And then after that, you go to a mock call coach where they actually approve you or deny you. If you get denied, cool. I'm going to tell you what you need to work on. I'll give you a score from an A+ to an F, and we'll just keep doing this again until you turn into a savage.
So this process is like, you're taking someone, so someone joins the Closing Bible and you're teaching them how to sell. Like you're literally teaching them how to do high ticket sales.
Yeah.
Regardless of what offer they're on, like regardless of what job they land, for lack of better terms, you're teaching them how to sell, irrelevant of what offer they're on, so that they can become a high ticket sales rep and then basically like go after whatever offers are most aligned with who they are as a person.
Yeah. It's like a military boot camp when they have like Hell Week.
Yeah.
It's like a sprint to get as good as you can fucking be as fast as possible. And like we do work with people that already have existing sales experience. So they're more just like, oh, this conversation's a lot different for these reasons. So it's more taking people who already have sales experience and helping them understand high ticket and kind of get indoctrinated to understand how this shit works. And then from there, and even if they're a tad greener, you know, they're going to learn a shit ton. And then from that point on, then we give them access to sales opportunities once they get approved. So we have 80
Like
business
job opportunities?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So what most people do in like kind of different programs or whatever, relatively similar to mine, is they'll go tell you, hey, Cal, you know, you watched a couple of our videos, go DM 100 influencers every single day.
Yeah, like I just taught you how to sell. Like, cool, now you know how to do it. You could say that you have the experience, but like you have to go find a job.
Yeah.
So that's like a part of your program is not just teaching them how to become a high ticket sales rep. So that's what the approve or deny is for. Is like
Correct.
They either get approved to you offering them job opportunities or denied, and they have to get better.
Yeah.
So what's the timeline usually when someone joins the Closing Bible to getting approved to start seeking job opportunities?
Around 14 days.
Wow, that's fast.
10 to 14 days. It depends. Like if they're greener, we're going to work on them longer. If they're like a savage and they're like, you know, a little bit less of a learning curve, then we expedite the process a little bit. So very dependent upon their current skill level. And like, again, if they pass the first mock call test or not, but like, we don't fuck around. Like, I don't want to throw you a couple videos. You don't watch them. That's the end of it. You're going to get good if you join.
So, okay. So like I joined your program. You taught me how to sell.
Yep.
I go through my test, my mock call test, right? I get approved.
Yep.
And then you're giving me job opportunities, like
Yes.
legitimate, like what are the companies in the online space that are looking for closers?
Yeah. So you build out a resume that is flawless. Like we help you put it together. We put some, you know, sprinkles on it, make it look great, obviously. And then from there, we already know what types of businesses you're interested in. So immediately once you get access to that, like most people get freaking 3-5 interviews within the first week, within the first 2 weeks. 22 days is our average time to placement from payment to placement. So we really pride ourselves on getting people placed fast. And yeah, from there, you get access to a bunch of different databases of proven businesses that are established. So we get on calls with them and make sure that what happened to me doesn't happen to you on these offers. We vet them out. We make sure they get great client results. You know, that is abundantly important. Number one for us. Second thing is their marketing good. Like, can they fill your calendar? Like, just do they have their shit together as a business? We don't really touch any businesses under $100,000 a month. Some of them will maybe consider, but you know, we work with these bigger businesses because they can pay out more commissions. And then all these vetted opportunities, we give you access to their revenue, their website, the name of the founder, like, you know, podcasts and shit from the founder, like, how much the closers and how much the setters are making and how much the business is making and what they're paying out the team, the size of the teams. You're kind of like, okay, like, let me look at their website. You know, would I want to sell something like this? Like, what's this founder like? You think I'd vibe with them or not? And then we get you set up with interviews.
So do they get guaranteed like a job?
Guaranteed placement, or you get a full refund.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
All right. So someone's joins your program. You teach them how to sell and help them get a job in high ticket closing in 30 days or less, and it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Sounds a little too good to be true.
It sucks being amazing.
Dude,
I don't know.
That's fucking awesome, man. Like literally, like you're taking these people, like not only do they get to learn how to sell, because that's what you can expect it to be, is like, okay, you'll teach people how to sell, but to then also give them a direct pathway to landing a job. Is there not like a direct multiple ROI on their investment and whatever they're investing into your program, because you're literally giving them a job where they can make more money than they've likely ever made before?
It's nuts, dude. Like I'm used to it just kind of being numbers on a screen, and it's like, oh, cool. Like Gabriel Asari makes 19 grand a month as he's fucking 19 years old. And he was in a college dorm when I first started talking with him. Like, yep, good job. Like we did what we should do. Like on to the next one. I forget that that's abnormal. And when I start throwing around numbers, some people are like, wait, what? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm
Dude,
like, yeah,
seriously.
it's like what the expectation should be. Like I should get my clients results.
You're changing lives, man. Seriously. Like, so if any of you guys are out there and you have minimal sales experience, but you want to get into high ticket sales, you want to work hard, you know how to work hard, fuck. I mean, I can't think of any other program that's going to guarantee them an entire livelihood as long as they're willing to put in the work. For those people, I mean, how do they get to you? How do they get to the Closing Bible? How do they see if they can join your program and go through the training and get offered a job? How does all that work?
Yep. So go to closingbible.com. You'll watch a little video, kind of explains how everything works. Fill out a form, book a call, speak with my team. We're not here to hard close you. Like if it's good for you, cool. If it's not cool, we'll just tell you no. We do DQ people. So if it's not a good fit, we'll just tell you. But seriously, speak with our team. We'll help you a ton. That's where you can go. Aside from that, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter.
Garrett Campbell, baby, the sales guy. I couldn't thank you enough, man. For anyone who's watching this, who wants to get into high ticket sales, who wants to change their lives, I'm going to put a link in the bio of this video to Garrett's program so that you can speak with his team and see if they're a good fit for you. And my closest friend, my very best friend, and my brother, who actually lives with me, joined Garrett's program, paid in full, and it's been, I think, maybe 2.5 weeks since he's joined Garrett's program, and he's worked in corporate sales for the past 3 years since he graduated college, and he, up until this point, has multiple job offers to get into high-ticket sales, doesn't see himself making less than $10K a month where he was making $5K before. So I've seen it in real life, and this is the most genuine guy you could learn from. So click the link in that bio, schedule a call with this team. And man, I couldn't thank you enough, bro. You gave him all the sauce, and you're giving him an opportunity here too.
Dude,
so
he spoke with the business today. He's doing $2 million a month, so he'll do just fine.
Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you, my man.
Thanks for having me
my fucking
on.
guy.